Welcome to So What's It Actually About? I'm your host, Margie Mchechny, and I, along with my wide array of guests, hope to help you better understand and weather the wonderful world of actuarial science. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Today we're joined by Aldu. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's only a pleasure.
We work together at Discovery, and Aldu actually took over my job when I left. He currently works in product design. That's a space I was in when I left Discovery. And standard question as always, Aldu, why did you become an actuary? And what was your journey to getting the qualification?
I think in terms of why I became an actuary, my answer would be quite standard in terms of I wasn't sure what else to become.
And you were good at maths?
No, yes, I was good at maths, but I was also good at a lot of subjects in high school, as most actuaries probably were as well. But I remember when I went for my psychometric assessments, because I honestly had no idea what I wanted to become. I tested for actuary, and then I also tested to become a lawyer.
Oh.
Yeah, but during my whole high school career, I actually wanted to become a minister, minister of finance, to be completely honest.
Really?
I love policy making. I love the idea of running a country, making rules, and almost advocating budgets to say that this is what we're prioritizing in the country right now and things like that.
You'd be fantastic at that.
Oh, thank you. But after also going to parliament and seeing all of the politics behind everything that goes on behind government, I was no, the corporate sector would be much better for me. So then in my grade 11 year, I applied to become an actuary then at Stellenbosch University. And I remember being very afraid actually. I remember being inside this class, being surrounded by these amazing students. They were all so smart. They all came from these big towns, and then there was me coming from Riversdale, this very small town. Our school was we had 400 kids in our school, so it was tiny school. So I immediately felt a bit almost behind in a certain sense. So I worked very hard right from the get-go. Sure. And I really enjoyed all of the subjects, but I remember in my second year, there was actually a time where I was unsure of whether this was for me.
Yeah, I was exactly the same.
Sacrificing so much of your personal time, it just bugged me because I felt there's so much more in life. And also, I always had a lot of friends outside of my actuarial class.
Yes.
I think I had more friends in the BA faculty than actually inside actuarial science. And also just seeing how full life can be. If you engage in these activities outside of the class, but then you don't have time to engage in it. I wanted to go wine tasting at Stellenbosch and things like that, but you had to focus on your studies. So then in my second year, I remember right before this one stats module, I just felt sure, Aldu, is this for you? And I remember going back to the lady that tested me during my psychometric assessments, and she said you were actually one of the candidates that tested the strongest for this subject or this for this field. She was you have to pursue this. And I'm usually quite easy. If someone tells me to do something, I do it. I just need that someone to tell me that. And I remember going home to my small university room, and I sat down with that stats module and I studied. And I remember I studied through the night, and it was almost I had a second breath at that point in time. And after that, up until my honors year, I never doubted the idea of studying actuarial science ever. And it was almost I enjoyed the subjects. I enjoyed engaging with the lecturers, seeing how the subjects that they're studying is actually applicable in real world and things. But during my honors year, I felt I missed economics because I always loved studying economics.
Yeah.
And then I actually decided during my honors years, I was busy applying for jobs and stuff. And then I was sure, Aldu, are you ready to actually leave university, or do you still want to study something else? And do you actually feel that you want to become an actuary? So then at that point, I had this really cool economics lecturer at Stellenbosch University, and then I chatted to him specifically. And he said, although you've done so many economic modules during your university career, if you want to enroll for a master's, you're more than welcome to. So then I thought, why not? I don't want to learn work yet. I'm not ready. So then I did my master's in economics. So during that year, I took a complete break from actuarial science. I didn't write any fellowship, any ST, nothing.
Okay, so it was just a complete economic focus.
It was almost like a detox. I felt I was done with symbols. Yeah, somewhat. And it was also again a bit daunting because I felt all of my peers are going to the working world now. and here's me still studying. And it's also like quite scary. Like I think you would also relate to this, like almost like choosing a different path where you know your peers are almost like pursuing one thing, but you're not ready to go that route yet. And you see them go, but you're holding on to what you cherish at that moment.
Yeah, and to figure out what it is that is important to you.
Exactly.
And not to just be like, okay, everyone's doing that, so we kind of go on that path. It is hard, very hard.
Yeah, it was so strange. And I remember also I had a bursary to go and work at Treasury actually.
Oh, weird.
So I was not supposed to become an actuary per se at all. Like that was part of my dreams of going into Parliament and becoming like the minister.
Yay.
So during my first year, I thought like let's keep this door open because I like options. So I was actually supposed to go to Treasury and work for them, because that was like my door into like being like in Parliament and things like that. So then I started like my master's in economics, and I studied for that. And then the Adrian Gore Fellowship Awards opened up again.
Yay.
And that was around like June. And that was also like the time when we were supposed to choose our modules at like varsity.
Okay.
So I always loved monetary economics, monetary and fiscal economics, but mostly monetary economics.
Okay.
But during this time, like I went through this phase of, Aldo, like, are you doing enough for society? Like, how are you actually like going to be like a good economist that actually like adds value? So then I decided to take the developmental economics, like almost like more like social policy type of thing,
Yeah.
and health economics.
Okay.
And that's like right at the time that the Adrian Gore Fellowship Awards opened as well. And I remember like on the day when it like the fellowship entry actually closed,
Yeah.
I sent our actuarial lecturer an email, and I was like, I know I'm not studying actuarial science at the moment. I'm in the economics department, so technically I shouldn't be eligible to be here, but can you by any chance put my name forward as well for this? And then during that year, Stellenbosch University actually submitted like 6 students for that fellowship
And you were
award
one of
instead of
them.
just 5. Yes. And I was so happy about that because like that whole process of like seeing like how my health economics background specifically, like the few classes that we've had,
Yeah.
was just like such a cool like link to discovery. And I got this perspective of like, you don't need to be in government to actually have an impact and make rules and formulate product or things like that. Like you can actually just be at a private company that has like a very good shared value business model.
With the ethos.
Exactly. Like if it has like strong values and like it cares about society, you can have like as big, if not bigger impact on society. So then like I had my Adrian Gore Fellowship Award, and then I ended up in the top 3 in some miraculous way. And like I got an offer in like the health space as well. And it was just like almost like all of these chips are just falling into place. Like this is where the universe wants me. Because like there was like so many like detours that I took along the way. And I also think that I took like pauses at the right time.
Yeah.
Like questioning myself in second year already, like going back and like knowing that like reassurance that like I have like a strong ability to actually become an actuary.
Yes.
Like almost like loosening myself from these insecurities, like also taking like a break in my economics year and just like finding like my purpose. Because I don't think if I didn't study health economics, like I don't think I ever would have discovered like this like passion that I have for healthcare.
Yeah.
And because like, I mean, like, you know, like what it's like at university, like you don't really do like health inside like your CT modules at all.
You don't.
It's touched on very briefly, but you don't really get like a good sense of like how meaningful it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then after that, like I was sure like, okay, I'm going to become an actuary. Like I'm not going to be in Parliament. Like
Had to let that one go.
yes, and I'm not going to be a lawyer. So I'm settling like for actuarial science. And I've never looked back actually. So happy.
So, I mean, just for a little bit of context for our audience, what is this Adrian Gore Fellowship? Like, how does that, what is sort of just maybe 1 or 2 sentences on how the format of that and what its purpose is?
Okay, got you. So the Adrian Gore Fellowship Award is this amazing program that Discovery runs. And in essence, there's about 4 or 5 universities in South Africa. They get to select like 5 students inside their actuarial honors class. And then they submit these students for this like process at Discovery, where Discovery basically puts them through a lot of presentations, a lot of interviews, a lot of like team activities, a lot of assessments to almost like identify candidates that would like fit well for the Discovery culture.
From the top performers of those universities. So, I mean, obviously you have to be a top of your class, kind of really performing well in the actuarial space.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then what's quite nice about that whole program is that at the end of it, you get paired with like departments inside Discovery that you're likely to work well in.
Yes, and they have a better idea of sort of the person you are, more than just a little sort of a short interview trying to figure out where it is you fit in kind of thing.
Exactly. And what's also like very nice about that program is it runs for a very long time. So it's not just a quick interview that you have or like 3 interviews that you have. And based on that, that's what your perception is about the company and the company's perspective of you. It's this long process where you get to know the company very well, and you also have like a lot more reassurance into like whether this is the right choice for you, whether that's your employer of choice as well. So yeah.
I mean, I think it's an incredible initiative. So you said through that program you were top 3 and you got employed or offered a job by Discovery, which you obviously accepted. And so what was the first job that you went into at Discovery? What was that role?
So that was quite interesting. So as part of this process, you get to choose which department you want to work in. Okay. You get to almost like rank different departments, and based on that ranking, you get interview with the different departments. But also, basically, yes, yeah, it's exactly that. And then based on that, like preferences that you said as well, like that obviously like impacts like where you actually end up working. So at that time, like I really wanted to be in Vitality R&D. So the wellness program. So I actually had Vitality R&D first, health second, because I really like the behavioral economics. Like that's always like fascinated me so much. So I was like pretty sure like Vitality R&D, like I made for you. And I also went through quite a fitness journey during my university career. So it was almost like Vitality is like my purpose. But then the actual offer that I got was for risky intelligence in the health space. And I remember at the beginning when I saw this offer, I was very confused. I was like, "What is?"
It's not something you naturally understand, right? It's not like in the lineup of actuarial functions, risk intelligence is up there with pricing.
Exactly. But I like the title. Like I felt like risk intelligence, like it sounded nice.
You're like, I'm an MI6, but for risk.
Exactly. So when people like ask me, what are you doing next year, I would be like, I'm going to the risk intelligence department of Discovery. I was very happy about it. But it was actually like one of the coolest departments inside Discovery. So it's a very non-traditional actuarial space. So it links to the data science unit of Discovery as well. And inside this space, you would know like risk is inherent like in our like actuarial world. We love risk.
Yeah, exactly.
So in essence, like it's a risk management, but you're the intelligence behind that risk management.
Sure.
So there's like a lot of like different functions, and that department really showed me what the role of an actuary is holistically like inside the healthcare environment. So we did things like provider profiling, like assessing like how well like doctors really practice, like almost like telling like a GP like this is how efficient your healthcare delivery is. So the first team that I actually worked in was for spinal profiling. So profiling spinal surgeons in essence. And that was quite interesting because you got to sit with clinicians like doctors, like spinal surgeons, and they would explain to you how to use the data to assess the quality of care that spinal surgeon delivered. So looking at like how often a spinal surgeon's patients get readmitted for complications, how long they stay in hospital, like how good they prescribed rehabilitative care before admitting a patient to hospital and things like that. So that was like the first bit of work that I did. We also did work like on quality of care, which was like fascinating. Like actually like looking at like hospitals inside South Africa and understanding the quality of the care that's delivered inside the hospital. So basically rating hospitals in terms of their mortality rates, their readmission rates, and things like that. Also like patient experience scores. And then coming up like with metrics and then building hospital networks around this. So we did like a lot of like unconventional work that relied a lot on data science. And that was also the department that was based like at the forefront of the COVID pandemic and like assessing like, it was such interesting analytics that they came up with. And also just like being on the outside of that department at that point in time, I was so proud of them because like I knew like the rigor. And I actually felt like so proud to have been a part of that space as well, which